Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Who's in the mood for a little drugstore better than high-end video? I feel like I haven't done one of these in a little while, and these are not necessarily dupes. I'm not going like shade for shade or trying to get something really exact, but it's kind of like the overall impression on a product. And I do have a certain high-end thing in mind that I feel like this drugstore thing outperformed, okay? And this is a fall edition, so I'm keeping that in mind with everything I'm talking about. I think the tones and just the whole vibe for the products I'm mentioning would be great for this season. So let's jump in. The first thing is maybe not quite so fall specific, but I just felt like the more I used this product and the high-end alternative, the more solid I felt that this drugstore one is really just as good, and you're getting almost twice as much product for so much less money. I'm talking about the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Loose Powder, and maybe in the fall you want to take your look in a bit more matte direction. This is definitely a matte setting powder, and I have it in translucent. Now there's no frills here with the packaging, I must say. You just got open holes there, and you know, there's nothing super innovative about that. But I had recently gotten this new Makeup Forever, the matte setting powder in the shade Vanilla, and I gotta say, I feel like this performs just as well. It mattifies just as well. It extends the wear of my makeup when I wear it. This does a great job not looking too heavy, like up on the under eye or the T-zone. That's where I applied it today. And just visibly, it does everything I want a loose powder to do. You know, it mattifies, it adds a little bit more of a perfected look, and it extends the wear time. It's exactly what this does, but perhaps it's a little less heavy looking, and that's kind of what makes me want to reach for this one more. This one, even applied lightly, to me it looks a bit more like a visible layer on the skin, and at times I've been thinking like, is that my concealer or what? What's the deal? Who's the culprit? But this just seems to pair with any concealer really well, works great every time. All right, you know I've got a couple of blush picks to talk about. One of them is this e.l.f. Spiced Apple Duo. I've been wanting to reach for this one a lot lately, and it's kind of reminded me of my Patrick Ta blush, the Monochrome Moment blush in She's Seductive, and that's what this looks like. And if you're in the mood for kind of like an overall earthy matte blush, this is really incredible. It's a slight bit warmer than my Patrick Ta, but still very close in tone, and then you also get an absolutely gorgeous highlight to top it off with. So I'm wearing that Duo today, and I just always love the finished look. And think of any neutral fall eye looks or lip colors like this that you might be pairing it with. It just makes a really great partner for everything else. And I just think the value is tremendous here. You've got a great, lovely, nicely pigmented matte blush plus an off-the-charts highlight. And if you want another suggestion from this line, check out the shade called Watermelon. A little bit more of a pinky peach blush and an even brighter highlight. And while we're on the topic of blush, I've also been enjoying kind of a peachy glow. I think it looks so pretty. The other day I wore this peachy blush from Catrice, this Cheek Lover Oil Infused Blush in Blooming Hibiscus, and I wore this alongside a really like kind of fiery eye look with bright oranges and reds in it, and I thought this complemented that look really nicely. And look how gorgeous that is in the pan. We're talking a baked feeling formula, but still really nicely pigmented, not super dry at all, but it's a glowy blush. Okay, you can see that sheen, how when it's not fully hitting the light, it might look even a bit more pinky, but then that golden glow definitely shows as it does hit the light. And to me, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Balms blush in Hot Mama, a longtime iconic blush, it sort of does the same thing, whereas it hits the light, it looks more golden, but a little bit richer when it's not. And I actually feel like this one from Catrice has even more of a color payoff, like even more visibility on the cheeks, just a little more depth perhaps, and it makes me enjoy it even more. And I've used it and I've thought like, what does this remind me of? And then I got out my Hot Mama, but I found that I was even more satisfied with the look that I got from this one. Oh, another thing I want to share, my Catrice Illuminating Prime and Fine Dewy Glow Fixing Spray. This size, like it was on Ulta's website for a hot minute and then I couldn't find it again. I'll definitely link to this larger size if it's there. If not, I'll link to the normal small size. But this is one of those setting mists that you have to shake up because there's like a glowy element to it. And I swear this is one of the only ones outside of maybe the L'Oreal Shake and Glow Dew Mist that really like does an effective job of getting all that glowiness kind of incorporated into the product. And I was thinking about how I had one in the past. I've since decluttered it, but there was one from MAC and it was a version of Fix Plus that had like this glowy shimmer in it. And I could always see like the dots of that, even on my shirt, and like it would show in my hair. Whatever particle they were trying to make glowy couldn't get fine enough within that mist. And this one. I haven't even put it on yet today, so I'll go ahead and wear it. Super fine mist, never any big droplets, but it can kind of take that matte look that you've got and instantly make it look a little more one with the skin, because you will notice that added bit of glow that this spray gives you. But like I said, it's not anything anybody can pick up on. It leaves no evidence specifically in the form of droplets, but you just look more glowy after you've used it. So I love that stuff. Now, I recently talked about the Natasha Denona Retro palette, and it's a nice palette. I don't want to knock this one too hard because, I mean, it is good quality. I didn't think it was absolutely as easy to work with as I would have liked. I mean, it appears to be a palette that's 100% up my alley, and you can watch that last video to see it in action. Well, maybe not my last video, but the one before. Earlier this week, I used this, and kind of a takeaway, something maybe I learned a bit about myself in using this, was that I kind of prefer the berry types of palettes that are a bit more of like a burgundy berry, rooted in more earthy kinds of shades, as opposed to having just a lot of pink. And I felt like some of these darker shades in here too, like they didn't really stay super rich and dark. They kind of actually sheared out and looked more like a red or a pinky red, and then there's lots of pink around it. And I just thought, you know, I kind of like a burgundy shade, maybe mixed with some rose golds or something like that, not quite so pinky berry. And it made me think about my Catrice Self-Made Bae palette, and that is what I used today, guys. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, I love that little more muted berry look that doesn't go quite so much on the pink side. Now, this color called Empire is really so much like that nude mauve shade in the other one I mentioned, but I'll just let my little demo roll of how I applied this. But I got some of that shade in my crease, and you've got some shimmers down here at the bottom, these three right here, and they can all go in the crease and they soften out really beautifully. I do like this beautiful berry shade here and this deep red. They can really amp up the look, and then you've got some different shimmers to play with to just lighten things up a little bit and give yourself that little lid pop, you know? But I just find this look super wearable for me, and there's not a dud shade in the palette. That's what I love so much about these Catrice palettes, is that the shimmers are like pure, smooth, really nice quality shimmers. The mattes are amazing as well, so I love that one. And in that same color family, I also love the Profusion Mauves palette. You talk about a cheaper take on that retro palette. I mean, you're only going to pay $5 for this, and you've got a great balance of matte and shimmer. This has turned out some absolutely gorgeous looks. It might have a little more even, I don't know, color intensity than this one, just as far as some of these shades really popping. But to me, this is stuff I prefer over that other one. So I know it might sound crazy that I can be so satisfied with these drugstore price range things, but I really am, and it might be kind of a personal preference thing, but these color schemes just appeal to me a little bit more than that one. And this Mauves is just very condensed, you know? There's no riffraff shades, there's nothing extra, there's no overlap. All the colors hold their own and are really beautiful. And then I got to thinking kind of about the Cinnamon Swirl palette from Too Faced, and how this time of year some folks are maybe just looking for a really nice like warm tone palette. Yes, they have this kind of oddball purple splash here, but I did a full review on this palette, and I compared it to a lot of things within Too Faced line, but not much outside of that line. And then it made me think of my Badass Bae palette from Catrice. Again, this whole line of palettes, I reviewed them all quite a while back. I can link to that video where I talked about each and every one, but they're so consistent, you guys. So while I ran into some shades in this palette that kind of made me work harder, or I just didn't like the textures quite as much, everything in here is a hit. And it's a beautiful fall color scheme with those really vibrant orangey terracotta, rusty shades, some gorgeous bronze colors. You've got enough depth here to really anchor the look. The shimmers are 100% smooth shimmers. They're not trying to play with us with some kind of funky, flaky thing that we're going to be like, ooh, cool. No, it's just like shades you can count on. And every palette they make this way is like that. If you're seeing that and you're thinking, gosh, I love neutrals, but not quite that warm, look at the Basic Bae palette. That one is much more like a straight, neutral, beautiful blend of matte and shimmer color scheme, but nothing this it's warm. So this is for my people who might want a warm fall palette and they want something that's less money than Cinnamon Swirl and even more consistency. We're still on palettes, y'all. I tried a great little quad from ColourPop recently. It's called the So On Natural Pressed Powder Palette. And I thought this was so nice. If you like an all matte look, it's super basic, but the shades blend beautifully. I just love these tones. I feel like this is a great little blended out color or lighter shade on the lid. And then you've got just awesome crease colors that merge beautifully. And you've seen me more than a few times blending out different like matte warm shadow looks on the eyes. You know, they just get me. So this is a really great quality little quad of shades. And it made me think back to a palette that I know I haven't talked about it a ton, but I believe I have mentioned it here and there. And it's my KKW Beauty Cocoa Matte Eyeshadow Palette, or Matte Cocoa it's called. And I felt like this was the perfect little pared down sampling of what's in here. Now these are nice quality palettes, and I think this brand is going through some kind of a revamp right now, so I'm not sure that this is even available. But I felt like this palette practically cherry-picked some of the most impactful shades from this one and just kind of rolled it into a real easy, low-cost quad. So just at a glance, can't you see what I'm talking about there? And also, my Milani Ungilded Most Loved Mattes, gorgeous all matte palette for my all matte lovers here. This is just dynamite. And it made me think kind of this palette with some of the warm mattes, but with the addition of this kind of pinky berry row, which I really enjoyed. See, I like a splash of that kind of color. I don't necessarily need the entire palette to revolve around pinky berry color schemes. So yeah, just throwing that out there. If you've tried this, if you want more like that, more variety here, and then something even more simplified here, because I know people kind of run on both ends of the spectrum. Finally, guys, my Superstay Matte Ink Crayons. I know I talked about these in my favorite fall lip colors video, but I realized that they compare so closely to a shade that I love from Laura Mercier. This is the color called Fierce, and it sort of reminds me of the deeper of the two of these shades. But these Velour Extreme Matte lipsticks, they're a nice product. They go on the lips really easily and give you very full color. But the thing is that these Maybelline Superstay Matte inks totally outlast these. They kind of thin out as you apply them, and then they set fully on the lips, and you will have such satisfying wear with these. And today I decided to put them both on. I know I talked about that in my last lip video, but today I layered them up, went with the lighter shade first. This lighter one is called Enjoy the View. Fill in the entire lips with that dirty peach kind of shade, and then I took my deeper one called Live on the Edge, and I just got even more definition on the outside, and you can see how I used it on the lower lip and sort of left the inner part light. And my goodness, does that not finish off a fall makeup look beautifully? I love the depth. I love how finished it makes your overall look appear. You know, I didn't go for a big lash today. I kept it pretty clean with the liner and everything, and I really like this look overall. But what's so beautiful about it is the key parts of this look. It's all drugstore, and it's all stuff that I think would play into your fall makeup wardrobe absolutely beautifully. So let me know if you've discovered any products where just the drugstore really impressed you even more than the high end. I'd love to hear your stories of that, your testimonials in the comments section. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.